to another Creative Youth Studio episode. I'm Jada.
And I'm Katrina, and we are so excited to have you for this episode on directing.
Yes, I particularly don't have a lot of experience with directing, but I'm very interested. I love watching directing videos on YouTube of behind the scenes of my favorite movies. So I'm so excited to get some insider's perspective of real directors.
Yeah. I mean, I know at my school there was the theater class for actors, there was a tech class for a bunch of the technical aspects of theater, but there was really never a class if you wanted to go into directing. So I'm really interested to hear about what that process is like. And I know it's different for every director, but honestly, I just want to hear what it's like what you said, behind the scenes.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So first, our youth guest is director José Hurtado, and they're going to be going first. And then we have director and writer Patricia McGregor. So,
Emily, take it away.
Hey, Jose, it's so great to meet you and talk about directing.
Yeah. Hey, Emily, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm okay. It's been pretty good weather over here in New York.
That's great. Hey, I just got back from New York, actually. I'm back a day ago, and it was cold, so I'm glad that the weather improved when I left.
Definitely. Yeah, it was pretty cold earlier, but yeah.
All right, so tell us about yourself.
Yeah. Hey, I'm José Hurtado, he, him, his pronouns. I'm from San Diego, born and raised, California, specifically a small border town named San Isidro. But now I'm currently studying the dramatic arts here at NYU Tisch. And so it's been a really cool experience. And with that, I've been able to do performance and then also this directing curriculum, which has been so cool.
Perfect. Let's get into it. So when I first started acting, someone defined directing as essentially the person who unites everyone's visions, the visions of the creators, the actors, and the crew members. That's what a director does. Would you agree with that definition?
I think so. Definitely. I think the directors definitely have a hold of all parts of the machine. And they're definitely the conductor, if I can say that, because they really make everything go forward. And at the end of the day, I think the director is so well needed because you need someone to say yes or no. You know, someone needs to make those concrete final decisions, and that's where usually the director or producer goes and makes those decisions. So I definitely agree, and a director does collaborate in all parts. You know, costumes, lighting, writing, all different parts. So I really agree with that statement.
Well, did you add anything to the definition of directing?
Yeah, I don't know. Directing is so. There's so much to it. I think from my education here at NYU, I feel like directing is so personal as well, because a lot of people like directing various things, and one director may like one thing and may not like the other, whilst others may like it or not. But I really do. I think directing is like the person who has the vision, and a director, if done well. I've always loved this quote. I forgot who told me, but the director doesn't always have the best decisions, but they know the best people to create their vision. So it's really awesome how directors just know who they work with well and how they could create this well-oiled machine to create a product of what their original vision was. And of course, it gets muffled and changed up a bit because, you know, it's a collaboration. You know, we get a little bit from here, a little bit from there. Anyone. But I really love the whole process of how a director may have a vision, and at the end of it, it may or not be the same, but you know, you're trying to reach for that goal, and you did it with awesome people.
So since you study both acting and directing, how did you come about to start learning directing?
Yeah, I started acting in high school, and my senior year, I was given the opportunity to, it was quite a bit, but I was able to write, direct, and produce my own play my senior year in high school. So I was able to, from there, directing really sparked something within me because it was as I was explaining, I was able to like collaborate and bring a whole group of people together and create this vision that I had. So since then, I've had this really spark of directing, and I think I found a really good use of it because I just love talking to people. I love being social. And I think that's something a director needs. They talk to everyone and needs to talk to everyone. Um, but yeah, so since high school, I guess high school is where it sparked, and I just continued along the way. And I really realized how I love directing a lot of Latinx work as well. You know, putting my Mexican heritage and culture within all of my work is something really important to me. And so, no matter what it may be, even it's like having a person of color within my production, or changing a person's dialogue to Spanish if available, and if legally applied to. But it's just, I love doing that. And I love how each director holds their own special, I guess, niche. Yeah, I think that's what it is.
So do you think that kind of niche and what you want to put on stage is what motivates you to study both directing and acting?
Yeah, I think so. And I definitely do. They go hand in hand too, because I've learned as much acting skills and technique in directing, and vice versa. It's kind of like being an actor and studying performance is kind of like being in the moment, and while in a director, kind of going outside the box and looking at it from an outside perspective, and from there you could kind of critique and judge and kind of take note on like what you did, what you could do to make it better, or what you could do to make it translate something else. So I really love using those tools in like my directing and acting performances, or any projects.
So since it's all about your vision as a director, you know, how do you decide what that vision is on a project?
Yeah, a lot of meetings for sure. No, but I mean, usually it starts with like one true, I guess, burning passion and burning vision of like, oh, I need to get this done. And from there, I guess in my own experience, you find people who are also burning to get that done. And from there, your vision suddenly turns into this vision that a larger mass of people are interested in. And from there, the responsibility kind of grows, holds a lot more weight at that point, because now a lot of people are looking at this vision that you first started, that was maybe a baby, and now a lot of people are putting their ideas and efforts and energies in it. And that could be overwhelming, yes, but that's what makes me so excited about that as well. It allows me to like be passionate and like allow everyone's ideas and burning questions about the project, and to really formulate and mold this product, which will ultimately not be my vision, which I had originally, but that's okay, because I really enjoy the collaborative process, as I was saying.
What do you think happens to a production if you were to stick super strictly with your own vision only and not collaborate?
I think it'd be chaos. I don't think it would be a fun production. I really do not think so, because I've definitely had experiences where there's, I guess, strict and very, I guess, self-righteous directors, whereas like they're not really open to other ideas, and that's fine. You know, directors are very brilliant, and their minds work in various ways. But I feel like collaboration is where my heart lies at, and where I think the best work produces. And there's been multiple examples of that, you know, of just like musicals or plays where like rather than one person working on it, this whole group does it, and it becomes this phenomenon, such as like a really basic but like a good example is the chorus line. A chorus line, you know, a whole group of people gathered in one room, created these mixtapes, and from there, Jonathan Larson created this fantastic musical that really, really changed American musical theater as we know it. So just that whole collaborative process, I think, is where the best work brews and where the best work produces.
That's great. So would you say that it's easier to collaborate with other actors, since you're both an actor and a director?
Yeah, I've definitely found some great insights with that, because I definitely agree. Whereas, especially with this generational thing, whereas some directors may be older compared to their younger actors, or like in college, like college actors with more older directors, there might be that miscommunication or not. There might be that missing link and missing connection, whereas they could formulate a better plan. And I found that having those skills as an actor and director really puts you in this advantage of knowing where the actor is. And so you could talk to them kind of in this actor language with the already known director skills and director vocabulary. So it's just a whole way of like putting a lens over it, I guess you can say, and putting a lens over it and really knowing and finding out how they best maneuver through an acting lens while being your director self.
Have you ever directed yourself? And if not, would you do it?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. I haven't, like, not in an actual production, though. I think perhaps, and like whenever I do monologue work or scene work, I'll like kind of have my director eye out in a little corner and seeing what I do, but never, not necessarily in production. No, so that's really interesting. I would love to do that. I don't think it would work as well, if I'm being honest, because I feel like my mind would tell me different than what is really needed for like the scene or anything. So I would much rather have someone else direct me.
So a lot of actors these days that don't necessarily have formal training in directing, but are very well-trained actors, are kind of taking leaps to start directing. Like a lot of actors on TV, for example, are like directing episodes of their own shows. So
Yes.
do you need formal training to direct?
I don't think so. I really don't think so, because I mean, example is me. I don't really have a background or education of theater or of any arts before high school or college, you can say, because the only theater class I took was in high school, which was acting, and not necessarily anything else. And I don't think you need an education. I think all you need is a passion and this drive to really get your vision out and produced and really shown. And like it's all here, you know, we have our phones and it's so, our cameras in our hands, literally, you could do anything you want. So I really encourage that with people to just go out there. And we're seeing it now with TikTok examples, a prime example of self-produced content. Like even that is directing in a sense, because people are directing their own videos and content and how they want it to be perceived. And I think that's so cool. I love how we're in this age of self-producing work.
That's really great. So since you are in like an educational setting for both acting and directing, you know, what have you been learning about directing?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, of course, with we have to mention the pandemic with COVID-19. It's very shift. The education has shifted a bit, I think, because in my first 2 years, specifically, I was training at Playwrights Horizons Theatre School. I did a lot of directing training, but it was in the space. So it was like mapping out like audience layouts or staging, or like making different staging choices within like the black box theater or any theater in person. But now that has definitely changed, because now our frame is this, you know, our frame is here. And like, what can we use here? And we've definitely, in my past year, during this, I've been a part of like 3 Zoom productions, I guess you can say. So I've definitely, the training has altered very, very much. Whereas now, rather than working in this 3D in-person perspective, we're working with this 2D image and what these dimensions could do and how we could play with that. And also with even using the camera and changing it, like holding it itself. There's so many different opportunities we could do now that we're in this Zoom world, but also the limitations of not being in space and in person with each other is unfortunate that we don't have that. But Zoom opens up more opportunities, I guess you can say.
Do you think it opens up more opportunities than it closes off?
Maybe. I think I think it's the way that you look at it, for sure. Because if there's a lot of theater lovers, I mean, I'm a theater lover at heart. I love in space, in the room. But this switch to this more virtual platform has really allowed opportunities to be available to people not really given a chance to be in the room, because I think that's one of the biggest problems with theater arts and theater administration and theater education and any arts education. It's like the first step to anything is being in the room. And it's really hard to be in the room sometimes, especially with an arts education, because it's so high in prestige, I think sometimes, that it's not available to more of the masses or more lower income communities like where I came from. So I think that's definitely one of the bigger steps that we need to tackle going into live theater again. But that's one biggest pro I love about virtual theater, that it's accessible to anyone and anywhere.
Do you think it still retains its kind of theater feel to it, even though it's virtual?
Possibly, I think so. I've definitely seen beautiful and magnificent productions on Zoom and through this virtual lens, and I found that if done right, you could still get the same like sensations you get while in the room in a theater like opera house or whatever. So that's really cool, and like to fight and like really like get to that moment and like whatever project you're doing is so fun, and it's very stressful, but it's really awesome if you're able to do it. I think it's a really good turnout, and yeah.
Do you have any artistic ideas you're really looking to pursue one day as a director?
Yeah, I'm really interested in just producing original content and original work. I am a big fan of musicals, and I also want to see musicals shift into this more traditional mainstream media and not so much of what people think musicals are. Because I think people have this still, I wouldn't say negative connotation of musicals, but more of this like, oh, musicals are more fantastical and cheery, but that's not the case sometimes. There's a lot of various musicals out there with different sounds and different tones and atmospheres. And I'm specifically looking at hip hop and rap musicals, and of course you could think about Hamilton, but there's I think there's more options there, and I think Hamilton was just I think a door opener to what's possible within the theater and musical theater, specifically mainstream. But yeah, I think original content and plays as well. I love plays, but just original content. I'm so excited to work on and direct on original content.
Do you have any current works that we can support you on now?
Yes, I'm not sure if this will be out in time, but I'm currently assistant directing a musical virtual production of Ubu Rock at NYU new studio on Broadway at NYU, and it's amazing. It's gonna open on April 15th, and it's been such a great ride. It's a really, really funny, grotesque political musical based on Alfred Jarry's Ubu Rock.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of that play, so I'm really hyped.
Yes.
Oh, is it a rock musical?
Basically, yeah, it has basically a lot of rock tones, jazzy vibes to it as well. We go everywhere. It's just an insane musical. It's so fun. Please come see it. I'll give you all the information that you need, but we open April 15th. And I think we go to the 23rd. I could be wrong, but we open the 15th.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. I've wanted to see more modernization of that play for a long time, actually.
Yes. And we're doing such a great thing with it. I don't want to reveal too much, but I'm so excited for everyone to see it.
All right. Well, thank you so much, José, for your time, and I can't wait to check it out.
Yes, thank you, Emily. It was so great talking to you.
Wow, that was a really insightful interview. And I mean, definitely, it's really interesting seeing specifically how youth have gone up in their directing careers, because I know, like I said before, like a lot of kids don't have the opportunity to direct in high school or middle school. So this was a really interesting conversation.
Yes, definitely. I was so interested in seeing someone so close to my age doing just amazing work with directing. I'm so excited to see what other projects Jose decides to direct.
So now we will pass it off to Imahni, who is again interviewing director and writer Patricia McGregor.
Hey y'all, it's Imahni here, and today we have Patricia McGregor with us, who is a director, deviser, and writer of new works in theater, TV, film, and music. Thank you so much for joining us today, Patricia.
Thank you so much for having me.
So let's just dive right in with how long you've been directing.
I've been directing. My first full play I directed was My Children, My Africa by Athol Fugard that I did in undergrad, early in my undergrad career. And I was looking for a piece. I was a performer and I was looking for a piece to speak to the times. We had a lot of racial conflicts on our campus in Dallas, and we had a lot of Black and white South African students. And so I read that play, and there wasn't a role in it for me, but I felt like it was really important to add it to the dialogue happening on campus. And so that was the first piece I ever directed.
What's been your favorite project to direct, and why?
My first off-Broadway show that I directed, which is Katrina Heil's Hurt Village, it was super meaningful in that I think she's such a stunning voice, and to direct the world premiere of a play at the same time, it was the year of the reopening of the Signature Theater Center under Jim Houghton's leadership. And it was just kind of all eyes were on you, and you were in the lobby, and Tony Kushner was there, and Athol Fugard was actually there. He was rehearsing in a room next to us. And it felt like from this very student place to this place of arrival, our cast was phenomenal. And it felt like we were really speaking to a moment that felt powerful in the theater zeitgeist, but also we went and spent time researching in Memphis, and it felt like I really got to have an opportunity dramaturgically to engage with that play in a really special way. So I love that piece for that particular reason. I love, there's a piece I did at Cal Shakes called Spunk. John Moscone brought my sister and I to work together, and part of what I loved about that is she's a choreographer and we worked together a lot, and this was a place that really supported our work doing this Zora Neale Hurston piece. And it just felt like a love letter to performance and to this writer who I'd loved for so long. And Cal Shakes had never had a Black writer on their stage before. So it felt, and have now very often, and it felt like it bust open the doors in a way that was really exciting. And then I'll say my Hamlet at the Public with Chukwudi Iwoji. It was a touring show like the Globe does, Globe for All. It's the mobile there. And not only do I feel like his performance was singular and robust and vibrant and felt really clear. I'm actually a Shakespeare nerd. I'm known for new plays, but I'm a Shakespeare nerd. And so to be able to serve that story with clarity to a wide range of audiences, from, women's shelters to people who were incarcerated to students to the public theater audience, it felt really exciting to land that piece, which I feel like a lot of people think, oh my gosh, Hamlet, and to do a Hamlet that felt so personal and so resonant with so many people and so timely. That was really, it was an exciting collaboration with Chukwudi and my entire team there. So
it's funny that you mentioned Globe for All, because I remember I saw production, I think it was Midsummer Night's Dream, for Globe for All, and that was a crazy production. That was an amazing show. This is how related it is. I don't know how many years that took place, but it was great. And anyway, talking about that though, watching the show, I was wondering, well, what was the director's process for figuring out like how it felt so modern? You know what I mean? How you were able to bring the show to these times. Even it felt like, as my mom said, it felt like it was written the week before. Like it was like that, like it was that fresh, So I wonder, of course. So I wonder about your process. What does your process look like?
Whether it's Midsummer Night's Dream, because there's actually a lot of real politics. There's, politics about power and gender and agency and like some heavyweight thoughts, even as you have clowns and comedy and what does it mean for this woman in the center of this play to stand up for her own desire for who she wants to love. And You try to surround it with the right elements of theatricality, but you try and ground it in something that speaks to the moment today as well. And I think as long as you keep your eye on that connection, which luckily Shakespeare had, I felt like he spoke to a lot of things that still feel relevant today. So we tried to keep our finger on the pulse in that way. And I see myself in my process as, I often say I'm a funnel. So I'm like, throw in all of the big ideas, or I'm a maximalist who ends as a minimalist. So in the beginning, everything is like, yes, 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 play, play, play. And then we start to shape, shape, shape. And then we start to hone, hone, hone. And then we start to refine. And then we try to get to this exact moment that expresses in the best way that all of the collaborators have dreamed and worked to figure out, like, what is the best way that this particular production with these collaborators can express the moment. And I always like to say there's moments of jazz in there. There are moments where I say, I don't know how that's going to play. That may play out differently with each audience that you play, but these other moments, if we structure them in this way, if we land this exact beat and we land it in this exact staging, something is going to be revealed that's really exciting, and it still leaves room for the jazz of each performance and each audience that breathes with the production. So those are some of the ways to reveal, like, my process and how I try to make it alive today. I always joke that if William Shakespeare were alive today, he would want to be collaborating with Beyonce. He would want to be collaborating with, like, whoever has their finger on the pulse.
So true.
And so I try to infuse that into my productions through music, through dance, and ultimately through characters speaking clearly this language that relates to themes that were alive for him then and are very alive for us now.
I love that. I love that. So that explains it completely now why it was so modern feeling as I was watching it. At one point, I forgot that they were even speaking differently. I swore that they were just talking like whatever as modern normal people, right? So
that's my
it's very
goal.
interesting to know.
I often do, whether it's with my plays or when I teach workshops, I do a kind of a course called Tools Not Rules, where we look at 10 things like antithesis, line endings, O's, just a variety of techniques that are really tools that I feel like if you apply those rigorously to Shakespeare, you will yield clarity. And one of my favorite compliments are when people say something like that, like, it didn't sound like they were speaking Shakespeare anymore, or like, I understood exactly what they were saying. Even if I didn't get all of the references, I understood. And I feel like there are a lot of tools. It's where having studied it for a while, I think, is useful in that there are tools I can use, and I never want to use them to, like, sit over people and say, like, I know the keys to the castle and you don't. I'm like, no, here are all the keys. Let's enjoy the castle together. Like, that's my goal. So when people say it's clear, or the kind of distance between Shakespeare and my understanding goes away, that's my biggest joy. So I'm so glad you experienced that.
To a youth that is aspiring to be a director, what advice would you give them?
I was recently asked a question similar, and I came up with this idea of this compass. So I'd say, like, try to be really clear and invest in the people who are to your north. So, like, those might be mentors or people who you admire. Find ways they probably have interviews on YouTube, or you can go see their work and see a talk back, or you might assist, or you might find ways to be in the room, in whether that's actually in the room or virtually in the room, with people who you really admire and can learn from and take tools that they may have. And then I feel like in many ways, the most important action is actually east and west, which I call your peers. So how do you build work with your peers? As much as you are wanting to connect with and learn from people who you aspire to be or who inspire you, really doing the work with your peers is the bulk of the work, and great peers will rise together. So how do you support other writers, other producers, other directors? How do you find ways to create work? And whether that work is outside or in a basement or on a stage or in a series, like, you all build that work together, and you keep sharpening each other's tools and also supporting each other on the journey. And then also finding the person who you can be the north to, you can be the mentor to. We always, if we arrive at a place, we always arrive with some kind of knowledge or some kind of expertise or some kind of tool or some privilege that then we can also share. And I think it helps renew you. I remember when I used to work in New York, I volunteered at the 52nd Street Project a lot, and sharing what I had learned with some people who were just coming up helped to feed me. And so I'd say, yeah, just looking for those north, east, west, and south opportunities helps to keep you alive and the work varied. And speaking of variation, I'll also say, diversify your portfolio where it feels authentic. So I am a director who directs new plays, but I also direct Shakespeare. I work with my sister, who's a choreographer. I've been working with dancers and musicians and in TV and film and writing. It allows you to continue to be in the room in a variety of ways and be paid. I also stage managed for a long time and was paid well to stage manage and be in rooms where I could learn things and then take those tools into my own room. So yeah, that's what I would say is, like, look to your compass, try to attend energy to your compass, the Northeast, Southwest, and then also diversifying your portfolio. And I guess the last thing I would say is, like, champion the writers and other artists who you love, especially if you read a play and you love that person's voice and they may not have a platform yet. Be that platform. Try to be that platform, A, because it's the right thing to do, and B, if you invest early on. For example, my relationship with Katrina Heil, I was asked to do a very profitable tour, and at the same time was asked to help her develop a workshop, a play that she was working on. I chose to do the, like, much less paid, but like my passion piece, working with her on this play development. It went on to be P-Valley, which is now a full show. And it went on to her advocating for me to direct my first off-Broadway show, but it really had to do with me advocating for the voice that I thought was the best. And then in the best case scenario, then that person, when they have the ability, they advocate for you.
Oh, wow. I love that. That is the right thing to do. And it does pay back in the future for sure. So that's a great piece of advice, Patricia. I thank you so much for joining us today, for lending us your voice and lending us your advice and telling us some of your story. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, and good luck to everyone. I can't wait to see what you all create.
Thank you so much for that interview, Patricia. That was, I don't even know how to, like, I definitely learned a lot, and it was really insightful. And I know, like, every director is a little bit different, but I felt like I totally understood, like, what drew you to directing. So, yeah.
Yes, definitely. I learned so much. I have my whole notebook of notes, and I'm excited to go back into the YouTube videos that I watched about directing and just know a little bit more and see how much I grew in my knowledge of directing just from this episode.
Yeah, this whole episode has been really interesting, especially because this is the third time I'm saying this, but again, kids like my age don't do much directing. I know a lot of schools do that, but I mean, it's interesting seeing, like, the different paths that people take to this career field, I guess. Yeah. So now we are going to move on to our opportunities for the week. So this is a repeat opportunity, but the application is still open, so you should apply. This is the Against the Grain Artistic Scholarship. So this is specifically for Asian American / Pacific Islander college students, or those who want to go into college. You have to be at least 25% Asian American or Pacific Islander, who want to pursue a major in the performing arts, visual arts, journalism, or mass communication. So as those of you who know, who are planning on going through the college path, every penny counts when you are applying to college, and $1,000 would certainly make an impact. So definitely check that out. It is an amazing scholarship, and apply.
Yes, please check that out. And also, if you are a playwright, consider putting your plays into the Young Playwrights Festival. All you have to do is look up Young Playwrights Festival to see where to submit. Submit your plays, no matter how long, how short, and you will get a chance to have it produced actual with real actors, real lights, real props, and everything that you need to have your play come to life. So please, please, I would love to see your plays. So yes, submit them.
Yes, and finally, our final opportunity is a budgeting money management tips. It's an event. So we didn't cover it this week, but next week there's going to be a financial episode that explores the financial aspects of theater. And while this isn't specific to theater, everyone would benefit from a budgeting basics and money management class. So definitely check that out. It is Wednesday, May 12th, and there are two options, 12 to 1 or 5 to 6. And it is offered in both English and Spanish. So if you are interested, definitely check out the link. I'm pretty sure we're providing it, but definitely check that out. It is amazing. And especially, as I said earlier, it is always helpful for people to, get more money by budgeting and making sure that money isn't going to stupid things. So yeah. There's two little activities. Jada, do you want to cover the ones to do right now?
Our first activity is inspired by our directing episode. Look up your director from your favorite show or movie, and then place your director's name in the comments below.
Or also, if you ever saw a theatrical show at a local theater company, check that out too, because as we've seen from this episode, there are plenty of local directors who are so talented. But so that's the little mini one. And then also we have this thing called director bingo. So basically you choose a bunch of directors, maybe 5, 6, 7, and you put them on your director bingo page. Actually, it should probably be more than that. It should be like 25 directors. But every time you watch a movie for the next few months, put an X down every time you hit a director that's on your bingo. And once you have filled out your bingo card, or you've gotten bingo or whatever, then treat yourself to something, whether it's watching a movie you always wanted to watch but never had the time, or getting ice cream with your family. But it's a fun little game.
Yes, I'm definitely gonna try it. I am gonna get some Starbucks once I complete my bingo, so I'm gonna try it.
Okay, so now we can end the episode. Thank you all for watching this episode. And next week, I believe, I'll have to double check. Yes, next week is Fine Arts Finances, which is the financial, not often spoken about aspect of the theater community.
Yes, definitely come back for that.
So, yeah, thank you so much for watching this episode, and we will see you next week.
Yes, see you next week. Bye.